Yeah, obsessiveness just comes from something that you love. Like, you really love it, you'll go through fire for it. You'll go.
Couldn't possibly expect this to be easy. If you want to make history, you have to
What
do
have you
history.
got for us this time, Kobe? Good! Puts it in! 61 points. 62 for Kobe. 81.
Like, some days I feel like I can't make a shot, man, and the basket feels like the size of a keyhole.
And give me an example of that self-negotiation. I love that word, and I get that. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, like, you're out running on the track, working out, and you start talking to yourself, saying, "Man, my knee is really sore right now. Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I need to back off. Man, my lungs are burning. Maybe I can just slow down here. I'll do like an extra 2 sets tomorrow. It'll be okay." Right? That sort of stuff.
Yes.
Like, that stuff's dangerous.
Yes.
And that's, you just got to say, you know what? I'm not negotiating with myself.
Yeah.
The deal was already made. The deal was made. I set out at the beginning of the summer and said, this is the training plan I'm doing. I signed that contract with myself. I'm doing it. Throughout that process, you'll start talking to yourself like, man, I think I need to, maybe if we, nope. No, this is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So, like, when I coach my daughter's team, it's not about giving them answers. It's about asking them questions and getting them to process things, right? When the game is being played, I'm not sitting there giving them answers or barking out things on the sideline. I sit down and I'm quiet. My assistant coach sits there and she's quiet. And the kids figure things out for themselves, or they don't. And then they come back and there's always questions, and then you kind of ask them more questions and you help them figure it out. Then you see their level of excitement to practice every day increase, because it's a process that they are on, right? They're not coming to get orders barked at them every day. They're coming for kind of their personal quest to get better.
Yeah. And how do your daughters feel about you coaching? I guess that style makes them feel comfortable, but how have you been able to manage that with the pressure of you being there?
No, it's no pressure, because it's their process to own.
I think that's a massive point of view. And for anyone who's listening or watching right now who thinks because Kobe Bryant wants to do something, it just happens, it just shows you have to do it yourself sometimes, because not everyone's going to believe in you.
Certainly not. Certainly not. And what you'll see is, once you start doing it, and now people want to come and jump in, but I'm like, you kind of forced us to go about this ourselves. So I think we're just going to build it from the ground up ourselves. But thank you.
Yeah, exactly. They saved you.
Yeah,
right?
Like, thank you. Appreciate it. Because if you had signed on, we just get kind of going with the flow.
Totally, yeah. You can be grateful to them.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. It was the same with this podcast. Funny enough, when we launched, a lot of people were considering whether it was, gonna, you do social videos, like, is it gonna work on a podcast? And there were a lot of people that were not sure. And then, like, we launched some of the biggest podcasts in the world in the health category, which is my world. And it was just like, everyone's just like, oh, interesting. But I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you so much for saying no and you didn't think it was going to work.
Yes.
Because now I figured it out myself.
Yes.
And what you said, it actually builds confidence and validation.
Yeah. Oprah told me this when I first decided to build a studio. And I was asking how Harpo came to be. And she said, well, when she was doing her deal for the Oprah Winfrey Show, she was re-upping her deal. And actually, the first contract she made, she said, well, don't pay me up front. Just, I want to own a percentage of the show. And so they gave it to her. Now, at the time, there weren't any black women hosting a daytime talk show, right? So it was really new. And she said, Kobe, if they believed that the show was going to be successful, they wouldn't have given me that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have. In their mind, they're thinking, oh, we got to steal. We don't have to pay her. We can take this money and move it over here. This is great. This is going to be a flop or be successful. I don't know. At least we get diversity on TV. It's fine. And all of a sudden, it's, we're in trouble.
We shouldn't have given it away. Yeah.
Opened up Pandora's box, right? So now you come back to the next deal and it's like, you gotta have to give me some more ownership. And you're like, dang it, here. And then ultimately she came up.
Yeah, and I'm like that. I have a very scheduled focus on writing, and people be like, well, how do you find inspiration at that time? What if you're not inspired at that time? And I'm like, no, the structure helps spontaneity.
Yeah.
Right? It's that consistency that leads creativity.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, people think like this, you're just kind of mulling along, and all of a sudden, aha!
Yeah.
You know, like the show that we have on ESPN now called Detail, basketball, sports breakdown show. That came to me when I was walking around with my wife shopping.
Yeah.
And I look at a piece of fabric and I'm like, wow, this is really the detail. And this thing is, Detail. That's the name of the show. And then everything came from there. But I had been thinking about a show like that for like a year.
Yeah.
And I couldn't shake it loose. I'm like, I gotta find a sports show that I'm gonna do, but can't just be basketball focused, has to be broader. And I want to hear from the best minds in the world. I want to hear from Peyton Manning. I want to hear from, what is it? For like a year. And then all of a sudden, boom. And so people think it just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You gotta like obsess over it for a while, and then it kind of pops loose.
Absolutely. Yeah. You had to plant the seed well before to see the fruit.
Yeah, and you gotta water it all the time, man. Like you gotta sit down and watch other shows that are out there, and like, and then ultimately you just find, like when the answer comes to you, it's like, my God, I could have thought of that on the first day. Remember John Williams told me that. He'll sit for like 2 months to try to figure out what the melody is. And he'll just be playing. He'll be at his piano all day. He'll say the only day he'll take off is Sunday because his wife forces him to take Sundays off. And he'll just be sitting there writing. And then it just comes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I seriously could have thought of that on the first day. Like, why? It's just so simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what people don't realize as well. Like when you go out there and you're shopping with your wife and you see the detail and you're like, okay, that's the show. And then you go back into consistency to create it.
What I try to do is shoot the idea down and figure out everything that's wrong with the idea.
Ooh, okay.
Right? This show won't work because, like Detail, for example, is like, this show won't work because it's not for fans. It's for the 1% athlete, right? Well, will it be successful? People connect to it? Like, you just start unpacking every little thing. How will we shoot it? Can I even get Peyton Manning to do it? Can I get, And you start shooting them down. Same thing with the novels, like characters and plots and stories. Does this make any sense? No. Here.
Yeah, I like that approach a lot, actually, because I think sometimes, especially right now in the world, we go to the wishful thinking side. Like you have the positive vision and you're like, oh, this is how it's going to turn out.
Right.
And then you ignore the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Or you ignore the kind of like the potholes or the loopholes because you're just like, oh no, I don't want to focus on the negativity.
Yeah.
But actually what you're saying is if you're aware of it, of those known unknowns, then you can actually break them down yourself.
Well, yeah. It's like some days I feel like I can't make a shot, man. And the basket feels like the size of a keyhole.
Yeah.
And other days it looks like a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay to fail because you're going to be loved no matter what. And that doesn't just mean basketball. It means anything in life. It means writing. It means being an entrepreneur. That means having the confidence to go for it. Days where there's so much clutter, it becomes harder for kids to try to weave through a lot of the crap that's out there to find stuff that's actually beneficial to them.
Yeah, you reminded me, I think E.O. Wilson said, we're drowning in information, starving for wisdom, right? Let's talk about sports. It's not just about sports, it's about life, right?
It's about the metaphor that sports has for life. I mean, sports is the greatest metaphor we have in terms of dealing with life. Because, even if you listen to music will give you guidance, right? That you can then meditate on and think about how you would apply it. In sports, you have to apply it in the here and now. I mean, you're faced with challenges moment to moment. You're faced with pressures and anxiety and communication or the lack thereof and all this other stuff. Like, it's in the moment. So you have to live it. And when you practice those things, you become better at it. But I just feel like in this day and age, our children have become less imaginative about how to problem solve. And parents and coaches have become more directive in trying to mandate or give orders or teach kids how to think and teach kids how to behave and tell them how to behave versus teaching them how to behave. And so that's why I'm creating these stories and creating this content.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so true. When you treat people as kids, then they always be kids.
Right.
This before where your father said to you, like, whether you score 0 or 60, like, I love you.
Yeah.
Tell me what that statement meant to you at that time and how did it actually motivate you to continue scoring 60 rather than go, oh, I'm all right at 0?
Well, it did more than that, right? So, like, the basketball stuff speaks for itself in terms of what that comment did for me, in terms of giving me stability, and giving me confidence to say, okay, it's okay to fail because you're going to be loved no matter what. And that doesn't just mean basketball. It means anything in life. It means writing. It means being an entrepreneur. That means having the confidence to go for it. And I've seen too many parents do the exact opposite. And it terrifies children. And children become paralyzed by their own fear because they don't have that security blanket of love and comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you been able to, in your life, see past the cloud of emotion to actually execute on things? Because I think what we were speaking about earlier, this challenge that young people have today, everyone has today, of just so much information, so much cloud of emotion, so many feelings, so much childhood baggage that you're bringing. Like, how have you always cut through that and execute it?
You know, what I try to do is just try to be still and understand that things come and go, emotions come and go. The important thing is to accept them all, to embrace them all, and then you can choose to do with them what you want versus being controlled by emotion. Yeah, obsessiveness just comes from something that you love. Like, you really love it, you'll go through fire for it. You'll go through the ups and downs with it.